Hello, party people. Welcome back to episode 20. I made it to 20. There was one point I didn't think I would make it this far. And look at me now. I know. Bring it in. This is success. This is what it looks like. How's everybody going?
Huh?
How's everybody doing? Sorry, going. How's everybody doing? How are you doing? How have you been? How's your week been? Your month so far? January seemed like it started yesterday, and we're already halfway through it. Most of the way through. 2/3. Almost there. If you're in the Midwest area, even parts of the South, what the F? Well, I guess all over the country. It's been cold. Whoa. Yeah, I gave the weather way back when, 2 weeks ago. And it got worse than what I read. Yeah, it was crazy. But I hope everyone's able to get through it. This is pin. Yeah, it's not a cut or anything. I went all out for this one. I wrote, this is the most I've written. I feel like I'm getting the flow of being able to write out this content for you all. So just to kind of go over what we went over last episode 2 weeks ago. We were speaking of, on episode 19, I sound like Stephen Hawking, humble beginnings. We kind of went over, you know, the idea of what it means to be humble, the actual definition of being humble, and some categories of where you can find yourself improving on your sense of being humble if you need it. You know, in which we were speaking on money, relationships, work, life, and material. All ones that I guess I found myself improving on the most throughout my journey of life, and I was giving some input on whether anyone needed the same help or not. There were some things to consider when it came to being humble, or when it comes to being humble, is one, the ideology of karma. Whether you believe in it or not, always something to consider when it comes to being humble. Action and reaction was another one, and then also emotional investment. Whether you're giving yourself too little, too much, or just the right amount. So today, per the title, you may have paid attention to it, may not. If you did, you would saw that it says that we are discussing to understand and appreciate. Sorry, I'm a little lost in my own notes. I think I felt like I wanted to write that differently or better, and I thought I did somewhere, but I didn't see it, so I didn't want to get stuck on it. Being someone who is more understanding and more appreciative of life, it stems from being humble, if not, you know, hand in hand. All factors of kind of like a healthier mental, emotional life, healthier balance in life, I feel, are definitely key factors in how to be a better adult, better person, a better friend, a better you, a better family member. If you feel that you want to be better, if you don't want to think of it as being better, think of it as like a supplement to your character, or just, you know, the way that people perceive you and know that you can be a trustworthy person. The way I see it, it's just being someone who understands most things and can be helpful and healthy way of life. As I stated, it is a key factor to being understanding. Oh, sorry, no. A key factor to being understanding is acceptance. One being accept that you may or may not know fully of the situation. You're also able to understand your ability to be involved and to know the plethora of possibility. This is all in hindsight of, say, someone having an issue that you can provide some advice, assistance, or just guidance. It also takes a bit of patience. Patience is definitely a key ingredient to being understanding and humble. With being understanding and to show appreciation, you must it's absolute to have patience and acceptance. To understand the someone, something, or somehow. I feel like there's a point, there's a moral point that that's achievable, uh where you can be neutral about things and not feel the need to choose sides, or not allow your heart to choose sides or your mind to choose sides, or just you know, not necessarily full on choosing, but like also leveraging one above the other. I think when it comes to being an understanding being, there is a certain moral point where you are in a neutral state. I believe I've spoken about this with Trey on last episode, Sketch and Catch last week. I used the term neutral state, and to be able to use it again really helps me appreciate the fact that this entire topic is coming full circle. This whole entire month is full circle. So when I say being in a neutral state or a neutral stance, when it comes to understanding, like, you know that there are always positive and negatives, and I think for anyone to have that point of understanding, that moral point of understanding, that centered point of understanding, you know that in between the positive and negatives, there is always more than one outcome to most situations, to most thoughts, just to whatever you can think of that requires a bit of understanding. There's mostly a good, probably 98%, there's mostly always an outcome, more than one outcome. There's always more than one side to certain things. There's just there's never really any means to choose a side. I believe when you hit that center focal point of understanding in morality, you tend to just kind of see them from all angles, and you go, okay. And it allows you to kind of resonate with patients to just see what happens next. So in to hear me speak about understanding and appreciation, just I would like, I guess, for you to have it in a sense of like understanding that there's a moral neutral center where you can be mentally and emotionally, to where it's not a drain on you. It doesn't require you to put any effort to involve yourself in. It's just kind of being like a passive dominant, just kind of waiting to see when action is needed. One of the benefits is to build a better foundation with yourself and others. So let's say it's work related, and you know, when it comes to work, you tend to get close to some of the employees that you work with, and there's something going on at work, and I guess one particular employee just doesn't know who to talk to about it or who to trust in, and they have something to talk about, some venting to do, right? And this will allow them to approach you knowing that they can trust you with what they say, and then also not being judged for the response that you're giving. When someone finds you to be the safety net, to vent, talk, to open up, that's the foundation that I'm referring to. Is that not only does it make you look good as a person, but it also really refines the building block, what it is to that bond that you've created, whether it's a coworker, whether it's friend, whether it's family, partner, even pet. It's just that solid foundation to be trustworthy. That's where things begin. Another benefit is that it improves your ability to be patient, improves patience. So in the moment of things happening to where it's a bit overwhelming, or you feel overstimulated about certain things, and you're able to kind of catch it before things blow up, one thing that you'll start to understand is that you might end up just kind of guiding yourself or using any guidance measures to alleviate any stress or anger real time, or just any built up emotions that's causing you to be outside of yourself for the time being. For me, it would be anger, definitely anger. But knowing when to catch it, how to catch it, and how to just kind of guide yourself away from the blow up, that takes patience, but it also takes understanding. So patience and understanding go hand in hand, I would say. But to understand patience, you have to be patient with the understanding.
Huh?
It's that Yoda effect that I tried to catch on to just now. I don't feel like it worked, but yeah, it's patience and understanding go full circle with each other. So I think with one you have to have the other. Without one, you got to have the other one. So I feel like that one's pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna sit here and try to clamor about that one. Another one I felt would be another benefit was improving acceptance, improving your ability to accept, improving acceptance. This one, I feel like we hit a certain point in our lives where it becomes a struggle until we realize it's kind of what we're left with. Accepting things that are out of our control can be one of the hardest things that we do to reach a sense of maturity within ourselves. One being death. It's kind of kept from us as kids because we feel as adults kids won't be able to handle it, they won't be able to understand it. But as we get older, we start to ask questions, and then because emotions are fresh and new, that information is given to us, and then the idea of not existing anymore after just understanding some understanding of existing, with toys and candy and TV shows and everything that's nice to us, when we find out that things will cease to exist outside of our our presence, that hits us hard as children. As you get older, with the right guidance and discipline and understanding, you'll come to accept things. And when you learn to accept things, you tend to operate differently based on the fact that there is an end to everything. Nothing lasts forever. And so when you come to accept things like death, you operate differently in a sense that I'm going to enjoy what I have. I'm going to enjoy what's been given to me. I'm going to enjoy what I've created a little better, because it can all be taken away, or I could be taken away. And then from that point, it means nothing anymore. So that's what I was kind of going for when I had put that it improves acceptance. The next thing on my list that I have is that it improves insight. To understand the benefits of understanding is to know that it improves your insight. Basically speaking, if you were approached by a friend who needed advice and you're known to give good advice, know how to give that advice to not only a single individual but just people in general, that takes a level of insight that not a lot of people have. Giving advice is easy because you can just tell people what you feel is best, but giving the proper advice, giving correct advice, that takes some insight, because it just takes a lot of like mental math, where you can just gather everything that you've learned, experienced, seen, or heard, and then you gather what's been correct, what's been incorrect, and then you gather your emotional stance, then you gather your mental stance, and then you gather how to approach all this information to the person who's looking to you for the advice. Is this person a little, I guess, lack of a better term, weak? Is this person able to accept the hard truth? Do you have to be timid with them? Do you have to be walking on eggshells with that person? Can you give it to them straight? Are they going to listen? Are they going to just come back and ask the same questions and have the same issues again? Are they repeat offenders? You have to take all that in consideration before you tend to give someone your energy by allowing them to hear the advice that you have to offer. So with the insight and the mental math that it takes, you can have all that calculated depending on who you're dealing with, in a matter of seconds, a matter of moments. It's depending on if it's for some person who is just there to like hear themselves talk. That's instantaneous. You're like, oh, this guy again. Watch this. I bet he comes talking about his wife. What do I do with her? Watch. Hey, bud. Oh, hey. Oh, no, tell me, what's wrong? Your wife. Oh, that again. What happened this time? Again? Oh man, so you didn't do anything I told you last time. I won't go on with that, but yeah, that's how it seems. When you are dealing with that kind of person, you're just like this again. Okay. But yeah, it's always, you can never give everyone the same information. For some reason, it's within us to receive it differently than others, and that's okay. For a good example, some of us are hands-on learners. Some of us learn better with reading. Some of us can't read. Some of us are dyslexic. Some of us have speech impediments, like me. But there's a learning curve to everyone, and you can't receive the information the same as someone else in the room. You have to receive it differently. So it takes insight to be able to give that information. Yeah. One other benefit to being understanding is that it promotes a healthy resolve. So as I was just saying, with insight comes healthy resolve. Instead of being able to just give the advice, you know how to allow them to understand how to solve their problem. With some people that they'll take the resolve and they'll be like, okay, I get it. And they can figure it out for themselves because you trust them to do so. Some people, you can't give them the answer without giving them the problem. If you give them the answer, they will run with it and not know how to solve their problem. Therefore, they won't be able to do it without your help. That's the saying, you can lead a man. Oh, you can give a man a fish, but that won't lead him to water, or something like that. I'm probably crossing two analogies, but it's kind of like that. You can't expect someone to know how to fish if you're constantly giving them the fish, so he'll starve if you're not around. Yeah, whatever. But it's like that. Some people, when they go looking for the answer, because think about it, how did we do in school when if you were like me and doing your homework on the way to school on the bus because you didn't have time the night before or days before because you had days to work on it? I was definitely a procrastinator, and I was a last minute homework doer, and I wasn't the only one, but it was pretty bad for me. I kind of had this thing where I could figure out the answer, but I rather just knew the answer, because sometimes if I would do the work, I felt like I was doing the work correctly, but I was getting the wrong answer. So obviously it wasn't correct. But when it comes to math, you learn a way to do an equation, but then you go to do it the same way on a certain problem, on a specific problem, and you don't get the answer you think, and your teacher's like, nope, sorry, that's wrong. You were supposed to do this, and you're like, that's not what you taught us to do. When you're taught to do something specifically, and they don't actually give you any insight to think outside of those parameters, you think that you have the right answer, and whoever is making all this stuff up has the wrong answers. But then you have someone telling you, oh, no, it's this also. Where was that? Your confusion in that moment will be the same as someone's confusion if you were to try to give them the answer instead of the advice. Or both. If you can give them the advice and the answer, or the answer and then also the advice, that'll work. But if you just give them the answer, they'll come back, what was that? And it's like, well, had you listened to me explain, you would have known how to deal with that, but you didn't. Hayden says, or when COVID hit at my school, I don't know what to do. Oh yeah, no, and not only school, throughout the entire world. We didn't get a whole lot of feedback on what COVID was, but for some reason, they were already testing it before they could tell us what was going on. Conspiracy? I think not. Excuse me, that was gross. Benefits of understanding also create a better image amongst peers for you. As I was saying earlier, you just look like a better person. You are a more trusting person, which is the next thing. You tend to be more trustworthy. I would love to be able to go up to someone or reach out to someone or hang with someone that I know will get me, but not only get me, not judge me. I'm not so much worried about the being judged part as I am, you know, with it being judged and you are mistreated or you're treated differently because of the judgment, I wouldn't want that. I would want someone who'd be like, all right, so where do you go from here? What are you doing with this? What are you doing with that? Okay, what's the outcome that you foresee? Where do you want to be? Blah, blah, blah. Or they just sit and listen. And they go, well, it seems like you have it all figured out. And you go, yeah, I think I do have it all figured out. All right. But I mean, we've all been there. We've all been around people who just made us feel like we are the problem when we shouldn't feel that way. And it's not even like whether you're a problem or not. I think it's just like you don't want someone to make you feel like you're less or just like completely different, or you're the mistake, or you're full of mistakes. Like there are a lot of people who tend to walk around as if their shit don't stink, and that's completely wrong. But there's just something about being understood that allows, like, that you can appreciate. I feel like I don't stand alone in this topic here. That when you have someone that gets you, you're just like, whoa, I feel like I just found a new best friend. Because like that's a one big thing to our ego, to our stability and our balance, is that we know someone gets us. We know that we're not crazy in this crazy world. I think because a lot of us feel like we see what we consider to be the low when it comes to human beings, right? Addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, addicted to or just crime in general, or and like there's no turning back, or even severe mental illness or mental disability. We consider that low because it seems like it's the less functioning, and we don't have a full understanding of it because we only know what we've been taught, what we've been told, what other people's experiences were. But until you actually are able to sit with someone who can explain to you what it, I don't know, just the overall experience, you just won't. I mean, you have some kind of understanding, but like there's this point where it kind of hits you in the heart. You're just like, oh, I completely get it now. And now that I have a better understanding, I'll have a better appreciation of my life, the life of others, life that of this person who's going through this experience but is still alive and wanting to change. I can appreciate that. That's what this is all about. Is knowing that you can be at a point where you look someone and you know in a different mindset or a different version of you would go, you're lesser than me because this is what you've allowed yourself to become. But when you've hit a point where you're understanding and you can appreciate life, you kind of look and you're just like, I wish better for you. You don't even think of it as a as a inferior, superior kind of thing. You don't look at it as, oh, I have more and you have less. You just look at it as better days are to come as long as you allow them to. Because you think about it, there's no getting through to a lot of people. Some people, they don't want to be understood. Thing I'll be talking about here up next. But yeah, being understanding just allows you, one of the benefits, it allows you to seem way more trustworthy, which you would be, hopefully, unless it's like a facade that you're creating, because it's like, I don't know, normally being understanding will promote being trustworthy. That's all in it there. And as I was saying earlier, it also allows you to be able to reserve a neutral state with division. So that's just, where there's some groups, when there is more than one group being divided by some kind of topic, some kind of situation or scenario, with you being able to see both sides with your insight, you'll understand that both may be right, both may be wrong, but the resolve Well, there's not one, because the only result that they may be seeing is fighting, bloodshed, doing something that shouldn't be done. But with that insight, you'll come to see that there's a different way. There's a better way to resolve this issue. That's where the insight comes in. All right, so I've given you guys some points on the benefits of being understanding, but when it comes to benefits, there are some downsides. None that you would, probably consider when it comes to being understanding, because you think that's a fully positive characteristic to have, is being understanding. What are there some cons when it comes to that, such a positive outlook, such a positive profile as being understanding? Well, there are a few that I thought of. With the first one being that people tend to negate your ability by attempting to being forever misunderstood. Now, we all may know one or a few people who do this, where no matter what you say, they will always be misunderstood.
No one gets me. No one understands me.
They will always fight that. And I think when we were teenagers, a lot of us did. Especially with adults. For some reason, as kids, we think that adults don't get where we're at. And I feel like a lot of times that we use that line, there was more that we wanted to say. But of course, we were hiding a bunch of it. But I feel like, as you get older, there's something about being able to hold on to the fact that you feel misunderstood. No one gets me. No one sees my point. I feel like after a certain point, you'd have to understand either you're not fully clear on what your point is, or you're probably in denial about being right or wrong on whatever stance you're standing firm on, or that's the character that you want to play. That's what you want to seem like. I feel like some people kind of get a kick out of not, like they like to be mysterious. They like the idea of being mysterious because they don't want people to know too much about them. So you get some of those people who are like, oh no, you won't ever get me. You won't understand me, because there's a sense of attention being brought on the fact that you're not understood. It's weird, but I've seen people do it. Not a whole lot throughout my life of 30 years, but yeah, I've seen some people do it, where they just feel like they are forever misunderstood or mysterious, which is wrong, because you can, a lot of those people you can profile pretty quickly up and down. No, you like to think that no one gets you, so it's funny to you that only you get you. I don't know. As far as I can go with that type of person. Another downside is that with patience, acceptance, and understanding, you realize when it comes to someone's situation, it all comes down to their own will to make things better for the most part. Yeah. So, to be the neutral person that you can be, and let's say a person comes to you for advice. Relationship, the easiest one, relationship. Been mentally and emotionally abusing me. I don't know how much more I can take. Well, we spoke about this last week. What are you gonna do this week? Oh well, and they. You ever hear those people? We've all been there. But you ever hear those people who just constantly make an excuse for the situation that they're in, only to stay in it? They want out, and you can give them every which way to be out. And they go, oh well, so hopeful. But you hit a point where there's nothing you can do. There's everything they can do but won't. So you're kind of stuck. And this ties into the first episode where I was speaking on emotional investment. You can emotionally invest yourself in someone who just doesn't want things to change because they're comfortable in the situation that they're in, but they will continue to complain because they want more. I think with some people, they feel like they deserve being in the position that they're in, but they want more, they want better, they want different, but they won't allow themselves to reverse from that bad relationship, from that job. For me, it was both. I've done the relationship, I've done the job where I just stayed there because I told myself it's where I fit, where I belong. I made excuses and I just didn't move on until I was forced to move on, or I finally made the firm plant of the first step to actually leave. But as someone who can be understanding to that focal point, that center point of being understanding, to be in that neutral state, and without too much emotional investment, it'll almost make you think that you're meant to feel, or you may even be portrayed as someone who's heartless. And it's not that. It's just that I can't help you any more than I've already given you help. But I also won't mitigate what I have going on because you can't relieve your tumor of a situation. Like, people expect a knight in shining armor sometimes, and they expect them to physically show up. Sometimes with people who want that, they actually want that to happen until they see it happen, and then they try to flip what's going on, try to divert from it. Like if my sister was to call me and say that, oh, baby dad is this and that, and I actually show up, and they're like, oh, no, it's okay. Well, I'm already here. No, it's okay. Move out of my way. And the scuffle ensues. And then there's the guilt of the call. There's the guilt, oh, I shouldn't have reached out. And then that's all being thrown on me. Not a situation that's happened, but example. And, you know, with that being thrown on me, I have this outlook like, you're crazy because you, one, wanted my help. Two, now that I'm here, you don't want it. And three, I have seen not one single ounce of effort that you're trying to leave the situation either. So now what it does, it puts me in a position to not care. But I need to care because I can't allow that to happen to myself. To start showing lack of care to people for being in this type of situation, I don't want to do that. So what I'll do is, I've helped you enough. If you don't want to listen, if you don't want to put yourself in a healthier position, I won't stoop down to your unhealthy stance. I won't stoop down to your lack of care. I will remain where I'm at for everyone else and for myself. And you leave it. You just gotta let it go and let it happen until that person can be like, wake up one day and go, this is the last time. This is the last day. Things will change. Other than that, if it doesn't happen, then it's not really your concern. Wish best for the person, but you know, it's not all cases at all. I don't even think it's actually pretty close, but in some cases where severe crime happens, it's because people weren't listening to their friends. They weren't listening to their family, because at one point we all think we knew better than the elders telling us that something isn't right. Like, you remember being the person who tried to argue with your aunts and grandparents about the TV, game consoles, stuff in general, where you felt like you knew more, and because this person is an adult, they should be all about work and money and telling me to stop doing things I don't want to stop, and that's it. Well, it's not the case. Adults have games now, so they know what's going on. But as adults, like, we not only deal with the trickery from ourselves, any siblings or young family members that we've had growing up, but also adults that we work with, that we live with, that we walk past in the grocery store, that we experience in public. We get all this from them. So to see a kid do it, like, not only was I a kid, and not only do I still see kids doing it, I see adults do it too. Now, when it comes to another issue with being understanding, that in conflict, you'll be able to see both sides, giving one or both sides a chance to allow themselves to believe you lack knowledge or are choosing sides. I think we've all kind of been in that one, particularly, especially middle schoolers, high schoolers, when group group activity becomes the thing, and you know, some people or a group of people are trying to get you to choose what side to be on and make you feel bad if you do look like you're going to choose, or if you actually choose, you'll look bad. But I don't know, sometimes it feels like it's worse when you're the neutral party and people go like, oh, hey, are you, let's say for instance, drinking. They're like, oh, hey, do you drink? Nah, I'm actually chilling tonight. You know, it's not a not tonight, or it's not a yes, it's not a no. It's a not tonight and maybe later, you know, something like that. Another con was that people may feel that being in a neutral state, there could be more done. Attempting to teach patience requires patience. And boy, does it. Oh my gosh. Have you... And again, whoever it is that you're involved with, you know, like some people will get the idea of patience and they'll catch on quick. Others are like, whoa, what is this? Well, what is that? Or, oh, well, you know, while you were not paying attention, I decided to do my own thing and I've completely destroyed everything. Or I've destroyed, you know, I've messed something up. That would also be the same thing. Lastly, for the cons of understanding is that it can be frustrating knowing that you can't do more without compromising your own mental or emotional health, which would require discipline and trust in the process. So easy one again, for instance, let's say you know someone who's in an abusive relationship. There's more that you can do, but what more is there or should you do when the person who's coming to you for help or guidance or advice will just go back to the same toxic situation? I think that's also where I was getting at with the point before about the neutral state and there being more that you could do. Or, you know, for like if you have kids and they go to school and they come home and one has a black eye or a busted lip, you know, you start to think a bunch of things, but you want the answer. So when you ask them, hey, what happened? Did someone do this to you? Are you being, you know, is there something going on that you want to tell me or you can't tell me that I should know about? However you go about asking the questions and figuring out the answers, what you don't want to be the issue is that your kid or, you know, a kid is being bullied and, you know, instead of speaking up, they just kind of take it, but they're getting tired of it day by day. And so with it being a school related issue, you can go up to the school and be like, hey, my kid's being bullied. What are we going to do about this? And, you know, depending on who you're dealing with within the school, oh, you know, we haven't heard anything. No one's come to us. Or, oh, we'll take all the necessary measures to have this taken care of. We'll do some investigation and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, the argument is like, oh, well, my child's not a liar. They won't lie about this, blah, blah, blah. But it's just that you want, because your kid may just kind of not know how to fight back, or they're shy, or they don't like physical confrontation, or, you know, they just may freeze up every time it happens. So they're just kind of maybe too scared. And as a provider and a protector, the first thing you want to do is knock that other kid out or knock these kids out. But the best way to have understanding, to have patience through this point, and then the discipline is just to be able to express to your kid who was bullied what it was they were going through, try to get an understanding of how they feel about it, and then from that point on, whatever else you see fit, but definitely those key points. Because like you know, whether it's at the park or at school, when you see a kid messing with your kid and they seem bigger, you just want to one up that other kid. Kind of instinct, like, oh, you knock my kid down, I will boot you to the next world. Good example for me, my soon-to-be 2-year-old son, we take them to the mall, which has this little play area, and as we were settling into the play area, one of the little kids came up while his like mother and or grandparent was trying to stop him, and this kid looked like he had to be about like 3-4 years old, but you know, running around. And he goes up to my youngest son and just with two hands shoves him to the ground, laughs about it, and then starts like, you know, trying to run away. And of course the parental guardian at the time was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. No, it's like, oh, you know, we get it. To understand what's going on as a parent, this kid just pushed down our kid. Either he's used to it or he enjoys that kind of, you know, attention for himself. So not only that, we understand it's kids that'll be kids. Our child was also not hurt. He was just kind of, you know, thrown off a bit. But at the same time, we know that the parental guardian was very apologetic about it. So there's nothing that we could do in the moment. So it's like, oh, okay, hey, you know, thank you for that. You know, it's not. What I've been trying to tell myself is that when someone apologizes for something that, you know, it's like it's befitting to apologize, stop saying okay, it's okay. Say I appreciate you apologizing for it, because I mean it's obvious that it's okay. Or they're like, no, it's not okay, which is why I'm apologizing. However the case, if you're looking for a different response other than it's okay, if you're tired of hearing yourself saying it's okay or sorry when it comes to certain things, when it comes to being apologized to, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. Say, oh, it's okay. Because we know it's not. And we're lying to ourselves when we say it's okay. Because we had an issue, but we understand things can get a lot crazier if we just left it alone. If we didn't leave it alone, things could get way more out of hand. You never know who you're dealing with. So like in that moment, we're just like, oh, hey, thank you. And you know, you don't make any eye contact with the kid, or you know, you don't make your presence known to the kid. Like, hey, you know, of course, if the parental guardian wasn't there, the back. Like it was a full-on shove. It wasn't just he walked up and goes, ha. No, dude took two hands, planted his feet, 3 or 4 years old. Like, little kid, I will mess you up. I'll have you sliding across this ground like, what do they call it? The broom thing? Yeah. But you know, in that moment, I had to be me and my wife both. We had to be the understanding parents. Like, oh, okay, hey, you know, kid, you gotta chill out. But the parental guardian was there saying all that, so we didn't really have to say much. We're just like, I gave her that look. Like, if he come back over here again, I'm tripping him the next time he run by. Not even playing. So that, for me, sums up my understanding to understanding. Being understanding, just a generalization of what helpful ways we can get some of process how to be understanding for ourselves and for others. And then there's the idea or topic of appreciation. Now with appreciation, whether it's big or small, there's so much to love and learn through appreciation. Everything from people, places, and things, good or bad. When I think appreciation, I don't think, oh, thank you. No, it's deeper than just saying thank you or, you know, anything like that. And it's deeper than just to receive and show appreciation. If you're a reader, you can appreciate a good book, a good crime novel. If you're someone who values art, you can appreciate a good piece, a good painting, you know, a good Picasso or a good Trey Gresham, just a good piece. When it comes to whatever, music, food, you can appreciate something to the point to where when you give its description, when you give its effect on you, people can go, huh, they really enjoy what they're talking about. There's an appreciation that you've established for that specific thing. Could be people, could be places. I just really appreciate the idea of a good waterfall. Just to feel calm and calm, and you get to swim in it. It's just Waterfall. I don't know. But yeah, I just feel like it's deeper than receiving and saying thank you. Like, other than, appreciating things, you can appreciate people by just knowing that the person exists, and every time you get this moment with them, or a chance to be around them, or hang, or just like some kind of interaction, or just to be able to see that they're doing great, you go, I really appreciate that person for what they've done for themselves, for me, and for others. I guess one person that the majority of people would appreciate would be like easy ones: Martin Luther King, Barack Obama, Gandhi, Harriet Tubman, Key and Peele, Dave Chappelle, Teen Titans, Dragon Ball Z, Akira Toriyama, Black Panther, Spider-Man, Stan Lee, pizza, burgers, French fries, candy, chocolate, juice, green tea, life in general. I can appreciate those things because of how they make me feel, how they make others feel. They're with some of those things that I've listed, they're benefits to your health and well-being. Others, just pure enjoyment. Chadwick Boseman. I can look. Got the Spider-Man issue that has Chadwick Boseman. Rest in power. Right? I can appreciate that. I can appreciate Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther because, well, not because I have the mask. I have the mask because, one, I appreciate Marvel and their I appreciate Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman. One, I appreciate Marvel for Black Panther. Two, I appreciate Chadwick Boseman for his presence in Hollywood and Black Panther. It's very special to me to have those two items. There's like another Black Panther thing all the way back right here, right there, but that's my sons, and they don't appreciate shit, so giving them Marvel stuff and he's coloring all over it. Like, what the? No, this is a collector's item. But no, I appreciate Chadwick Boseman for his presence in Hollywood, the artwork that he has provided us with, his fellow actors, actresses in the films that he was in. It's a team effort. Like, he was definitely a substantial part in everything that he's done, but you also have to give thanks to the people that he worked with. Otherwise, it would just be a one-man band, and that doesn't naturally go well when it comes to film or anything for that matter. One person in the band doesn't make the band. One person on the court doesn't make the team. LeBron James and all LeBron James dick riders. When it came to Michael Jordan, he was a team player. I'm not even going to go there. Not even going to go there. Just saying. So much to appreciate in life. I appreciate Stan Lee and just, as you can see, Spider-Man. I'm a huge fanatic. More of just the of the art, the icon, and the idea himself, not necessarily the dictation that's been instilled in the comics. I have a small collection of comics, but I don't read them. But yeah, I'm a huge fan because of how he's made me feel. I feel like there is something to know. I'll say this: when it comes to Spider-Man, there's so much to it than just where great power comes with great responsibility. I don't think anyone understands how deep that message is. I don't think anyone understands how deep the idea of Spider-Man is. He's like, if anyone's living from humble beginnings, it's him. Living in a rough apartment in New York, saving lives in New York, constantly having to do that. At Batman 2, putting people in prison just for them to come out and have to do the same stuff again. Joker's, hey, bats. Joker. Oh, robbing a bank again. I see. That's not how Batman talks, but you get the idea. Like with Spider-Man and Goku from Dragon Ball. Way deeper. I'm probably making it a lot deeper, but way deeper for me. I more than appreciate those two animated comic manga characters. Not so much idolize them, but I definitely learn from their entire journey since I've been born and I've known about them. Amongst other people, but you know, main two. Appreciation, I feel like, is very essential when it comes to a humble lifestyle, a humble living. Just as I foolishly listed off things that I appreciate loosely and in detail, there's just a lot. Like you can appreciate a nice morning, you know, like in between spring and summertime. There's dew and the sun's just hitting right, and you wake up, feel like you've gotten enough rest. Breakfast was nice, and the trip to wherever you're going in the morning was nice if you have to make one. Even small things like that where you can just go, this was a nice, pleasant morning. This was a nice, pleasant day. And you just drink it in, and it's just like you save that in one of your fond memories of life, of things to appreciate, you know? Or like seeing your elders reaching their final days, and you just kind of are able to sit with them or sit with family and talk amongst yourselves about that person's life, and through all of it you just find so many things to appreciate from them, because man, have they lived a life. Anyone that's, you know, hit 100 or over 100 now, you know, like you've lived a journey, and all these stories you've been able to give, all that you've partaken into providing the future that I live in now. I can appreciate that, because with a lot of our elders, they did in fact have a hand in where we live in now, like the state that we live in now. For anyone that was supportive of the fact that we got rid of the civil unrest, with racism, with anyone that was supportive that wasn't of color, and you know, you have an elder who was like, oh, you know, I supported this movement and we did this and that. That's someone to appreciate, because that was one more body, one more voice, one more present entity, one more piece of energy that was given into that whole movement. Very admirable. So with that being said, to segue into the benefits of appreciation to my standard, it promotes maturity in giving, receiving, or spectating. I kind of was thinking about Christmas time in this first point, because it takes someone who can appreciate just the idea of gift giving, gift trading, gift exchanging. Not necessarily being able to see people just like, oh hey, I gave my boyfriend this, I gave my girlfriend that, I gave my grandma this. It's not specific. It's the fact that people have the heart and the generosity to say, hey, I want to get this person something. I can appreciate that entire idea instead of being specific on who's giving who what. The fact that I can sit back and just watch people flood the stores and think about each person they want to give a gift to with full, genuine intent. It's like, wow, we're not all lost yet. We base it all on material because we're just out there buying stuff. Like, we could be making stuff. I could be making stuff with the no money that I have, but yeah, it's very refreshing to know that we still have some humanity within us to want to share some kind of sentiment by exchanging gifts. So another way to hold beneficial with appreciation, you're able to understand nothing lasts forever, so you cherish everything and treat things differently. Kind of going in the maturity aspect, when, you know, as young kids, as young teenagers, like for example, my kids, toys galore for Christmas and for birthdays. Torn up. The action figures. My kid takes the head off action figures. We would do that to our sister's Barbie dolls. He's taking heads off Black Panther toys, Spider-Man toys, Iron Man.
Huh?
I have no idea what his obsession is with taking the heads off action figures. has a tablet I'm supposed to be fixing for his birthday. Screen cracked because he decides to get upset and throws it on the ground. I have a second Nintendo Switch right there, right there. I don't let him play so often anymore because when he gets upset, he starts to bend. These things, if you know what a Nintendo Switch is, these controllers come, oh, wrong button, up and down, right here. You see this? It's a snug fit, not a tight fit. So when you're getting upset and you're bending, it's hard for the Nintendo to register that the control's in here. Not to mention he tosses it and throws it, steps on it. All right, baby. No appreciation. Just, oh, it's not working for me, therefore I'm going to mess it up. Although he does feel bad after. Yes, he's 3, turning 4, but we've been teaching him how to like treat and appreciate things. He won't get it. And that's why he doesn't get things. You know, even something smaller like crayons and like we let them draw and color and stuff, but you know, he likes to take his canvas off the paper and put it on the table, on the walls, on the ceiling, on stuff. And like, dude, no, you can't just draw on everything. Draw on the paper. Attitude. Paper's all over the place. Crayons on the floor. Doesn't appreciate it. But he's young, so we have to instill that in him very early before this person gets nothing for the rest of his life living under our roof. But you know, aside from my child being the spawn of a different place, we've known people who just you know, they get a gift, they go, oh, okay, you know, no thank you. I mean, I get it, you don't want to fake it, but I think sometimes things are just a bit over dramatic, like, oh, I don't want this, instead of saying, oh, you know what, I won't find any use of this, but I will gladly gift it to someone else who finds it more useful than I do. I think that can be said, and as a person giving the gift, you go, okay, well, it's yours now, feel free to do with it as you will. That's it. That's where it should go. Or like, oh, I'm giving you a gift and you don't know how to appreciate it. It's like, well, I don't want it. The person receiving the gift doesn't have to want it. That's fine. But if they want to find someone or some way to use it outside of the normal means of usage, okay. It's now their property. You've gifted it to them. They've opened it. They've received it. You gotta let it go. Like if I was to gift someone a watch, I'll never do, and they go to use it for things that explode. It's not what I gave it to you for, but it was used for its intended purpose, to tell time. But mainly that first part, that nothing lasts forever. Oh my gosh, like there is such a heavy sense of understanding and appreciation with just that, knowing that we and everything has an expiration date. Nothing lasts forever, and that is okay. Things, I feel like, are meant to end. If they don't, they no longer serve a purpose. That's why evolution's a thing. That's why progression is the thing. That's why, you know, we progress in life with the technology and medicine and food and such, but things are meant to change. I don't think things are meant to last forever. If we're talking about the ideal experience, yeah, no, nothing's supposed to last forever. Like, how long did you think you were going to have a flip phone? How long did you think you were going to have that dinosaur of a TV? How long did you think you were going to only play the PlayStation 1? When you hit a certain point morally where you are able to understand and accept and appreciate the idea of life, that it does expire with every fiber of being, whether it's the cells that we live and breathe, the cells that make our body, the atoms that make animals, the atoms that make just creation in general. Everything is a beautiful temperance. Like everything is just so temporary. It's like life is just one painting that will soon be taken down. Enjoy it, to your full extent, but then move on to the next one. Life is just a beautiful piece. I like that one. I amaze myself sometimes. So when it comes to that, nothing lasts forever and you treat things differently. And when I say treat things differently, like for instance, a near-death experience, you're not going to live life the same. Most people wouldn't live life the same way after a near-death experience. Some people are just living on the edge. But let's say it was like a near-death experience for you, or maybe appreciating someone's life after a loss, but that made you feel like, that reminded you that life is short for everyone. Because you think about it, 100 years isn't shit. Life is short. And it allows you to understand, like, hey, the people that I know, the people that I see, the people that I experience my time with, I can show a little more appreciation and attention to them. It makes you feel, like there's so much to lose and yet so much to gain with the time that you have left. And you don't want to waste it. You find different ways to live. You find different ways to operate. Like you probably are just someone who sat around scrolling and watching TV and doing nothing, and that one death pushed you to want to experience life differently, so you never had to see yourself doing nothing ever again, because there's more to life than just sitting around sometimes. Life is what you make it, because we can say that about ourselves being human, but I've got all these toys back there, all these collections, all these collectibles that just sit there, and they serve me a purpose tremendously. They make me look cool. Or so I think, right? So yeah, with that being said, material becomes more valuable, yet not to be depended on. Personal or family treasures hold more sentiment, yet they don't personify who it belongs to or who it's from. So let's just talk about the first one. Material becomes more valuable, yet not to be dependent on. I treat anything I buy with my own money the way I would treat anyone else's personal belongings. I'm going to take care of them. I know I've invested the time to make the money. I know I've invested the money to make the purchase, or the energy to want certain things. And especially when it comes to technology, oh no, I try to not let anything happen to my best ability. I've been very successful up until the point of having some people who didn't respect my belongings, and then having kids. But everything comes and goes, and I honestly had to learn that the hard way. With kids, I had to learn a different set of I had to understand where to pull patience from a different point in myself, because I've already gone through three Xbox controllers, and like I said, the Nintendo Switch is still kicking, but it's went through some times. My Nintendo Switch has been through some stuff. Laptop, computer, Xbox One, like I try to take care of everything that I've purchased, and especially big purchases, anything over $100, anything over $200, and then anything over $500. I'm like, do not touch this. This is all me. I get real serious about stuff like that, because it's like, especially with where I've been financially, I don't have that to replace just right off the bat. Like, I can't work a month and be like, oh, okay, I can just go. Like, I don't want to work a month without what I've already purchased to save up and then go buy it again. Shouldn't have to buy it again. But I had to learn full patience from a different point of me, because when it's gone, it's gone, and I'm going back to enjoying what I had before I was allowing myself to be distracted with other things around me. And then for it to, I don't depend on it. I think that's what I was also stemming from. It's like, I don't depend on having a PS5 or an Xbox One or a Nintendo Switch, or even my computer or laptop, because there's so much more to do outside of everything that I enjoy. So much more to life to do outside of everything I enjoy. But this is just what I like to surround myself with. But I'll get out. I'll do different things. I like go outside and work out. I'll go in the garage and work out, spend time with the kids. We'll go to the mall, go to the gym, like the Y, go swimming and stuff. I have a healthy limit of things so far. So, going through everything with my wife and kids, and then other people, and then where I'm at now, I feel like I've got a good healthy balance of things. You can't see half of everything, but his office, I don't like them in here. I'm just tired of having broken stuff, like a fucking busted controller. Didn't appreciate. We're talking about appreciation. I did not appreciate losing 3 controllers. That sucked. But I didn't depend on it. I had other stuff to do. Now, personal heirlooms or family heirlooms or treasures that have been passed down through generation or passed down to you from a lost relative or however you received it, they tend to hold a lot more sentiment. So I think the sentiments I have for the technology someone could have for, like, say, grandmother's earrings or grandmother's necklace or father's watch or pocket lock or something like that, or a picture, something that you'll receive from a family member that you're like, this can never be touched or ruined by anyone. This is now within my security. That's kind of how I feel. But I know with my stuff, it's always in production, so eventually I can replace it. But when it comes to personal belongings and family belongings, that's not replaceable. Which is why I went on to note, personal or family treasures hold more sentiment, yet it doesn't personify who it's from. So let's say we got this family picture from grandma. No one touched it because that's the only picture that exists with everyone on it, right? That's from grandma because she took it. And like, oh, that's the last thing that we have of her. That's the last item that you have that was ever in her possession, but that doesn't mean that that's the last of her that you'll ever see. And we tend to hold on to stuff like that because that's the mentality we have when we lose someone, that we want to make sure that we can remember their face or have some kind of way of remembering their voice or remembering how we interacted with them, because you tend to forget things that are out of sight, out of mind, unless you allow yourself to think about them often. Like leaving school or leaving a job, and you go on to the next one. Even though you've made friends at either or both, you won't actually hear from those people ever again because you don't see each other like you used to. That's the whole basis of those bonds, is that you've seen each other so frequently that you've become friends because of it. But outside of seeing each other, unless you've seen each other outside of those establishments, you probably will have little to no contact with them ever. I've learned that a weird way. And at first I was like, wow, I feel forgotten because I was such an impact and people were such an impact to me, but no one's called to hit me up, no one's called to check on me, no one's text. I was the same way. I didn't actually extend myself to anyone else, so it just seemed like I was only important, I was only cool, I only existed whenever they knew I was on the schedule. So outside of me being on the schedule, it's like, okay. And I was young when I experienced this. I was like, I thought we were cool, because even then, like, I would try to reach out to people and it's like, oh hey, at times conversations got shorter, and it just seems like that, like, when you move on, so do they, and it's so weird. But like, we think of it as weird at first, but as this whole month's topic would teach you, is that it's meant to happen, because you were able to experience that place, you were able to experience that place with people, you were able to experience those people, and all together it's just one memory that is also a life lesson. There's so much to learn from those experiences that if you haven't applied them to your next phase in life, you'll find yourself stuck. And you don't want to be stuck on the past. You don't want to be stuck with those people, as great as they may have been. it's now your time to move on, especially with people who are older than you. You know, you're trying to be stuck with them, they might be stuck in their lives. So you could be 22 hanging out with 30-year-olds, and it's like, if they're stuck, I'm gonna be a stuck 22-year-old until I figure it out. But am I gonna figure it out with them or behind them? Because then you'll be the next 30-year-old who's stuck, because you were stuck with 30-year-olds. Point being is that loss isn't always a death. Loss is just, you know, sometimes it can be the fact that people that you knew that are still alive, you no longer exist in their realm, and they no longer exist in your realm, but they're just a fond memory of a good time that you've had at one point in your life. And you learn from it and you move on. And you can use those memories as stories to tell people for entertainment purposes, or just to remind yourself of how good a point in time in your life was. And I do that often, you know. I do that quite often, because I'll be thinking about people that I've worked with through all my jobs, or just people in school, or people I've hung out with. And I'm just go, you know, for the sake of everything, I hope they're living a decent life, you know. But I can't dwell on the fact that I haven't spoken to these people. For some reason, I just hold my past close to my heart. I don't know. I really can't explain why, but sometimes I find myself just thinking about the people that I used to hang out with, and something tries to draw me back to those times, but I'm like, no, you know, I had my fun, but it's a different day. And I become okay with it. Definitely become okay with it. But that's you know, kind of the reason why this topic really helps, because, you know, when you hit those moments where, oh, I wish we could go back in time, or I wish I could see that person again, or I wish I could hang out with those people again, you don't realize that your life is better now. Those were just fun times. You may not be having fun times like that, but your life could probably be a lot better and healthier. I think for me, I was, you know, drinking, out late, getting little to no sleep, eating horrible food, and, you know, doing dumb stuff. And now I live a much cleaner, simpler life, even though it involves 3 dinosaur children. It's a much simpler life. I get my, I almost lied and said I got sleep. Ooh, that's what I'm talking about right there. Still got that dark humor. I almost said I get rest. Like, there's my excitement. That's probably why I missed it so much, because I'm losing the same amount of sleep, just not doing all the extra stuff. Hayden says, yes, I know what you're talking about. I appreciate you being able to vibe with me on that one. And that's what I aim to do, is get people to resonate with being okay with having those feelings and having those thoughts, and understanding like there is a brighter light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to those sort of things. You don't have to dwell on it. It's normal to think and feel those things. It's normal to think and feel for those people, but it doesn't even have to be in the sense that, you know, maybe they were toxic for you, maybe you were toxic for them, or it was just toxic situations. It's more so that it's just that it was never, you were never meant to actually have to like forever have to hang out with them or know them. It's okay. They're doing fine. If not, you know, they'll figure it out. You're doing fine. If not, you'll figure it out. But we as adults, or we are growing adults, I should say, we understand that we're able to just reach out if we need help. And with where we're at now in the world, I think there's so many outlets, and there's so many people who can like guide you to where you get help, as long as you just talk to the right people and keep your hopes up. You know, everything will be okay. But yes, I do frequent the fondness of days of old, but then I remember how I used to always feel alone. Even though I had people to hang out with, even though I had stuff to do, sometimes I would feel alone. I didn't like that feeling. Now, I don't care. Like every now and then I kind of feel it, but I'm like, I'm 32 with kids, and you know, I'm a home dad. Like I don't care about being alone, because I want that. I want that peace. I want that silence. of being alone. I need that. I think it's just that we've come to really hold on to what's the word, the repetition, the routine of seeing people on a daily basis or 5 days a week, you know. So when that routine is broken, we're just kind of like, oh, reboot, I guess, and you just kind of go on, you know. Don't need to dwell on the past here. We're all about leveling up this year, right? And so lastly, when it comes to some benefits of appreciation, it promotes being grateful and gracious. That's the synonyms for appreciation: graceful, gracious. In context, you kind of get the better sense of receiving gifts, whether big or small, necessary, not necessary, and then also giving gifts. You being able to feel comfortable about giving the gift that you were able to pick out or receive, or not receive, to give, you know. Because I know, especially with the holidays, we feel so inclined to spend a minimum of $20 per person, which is so much money, to the point to where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start baking. People cookies. I'm not gonna buy anything, because I feel like a lot of us have too much stuff. If I was to buy anyone anything, it's somebody who has much less than I do. If you have a home, if your bills are paid, if you're eating, I understand you maybe check to check and you feel like you're kind of struggling, but unless you actually need some stuff, I don't feel the need to buy you a whole lot. It'd be nice because we've been instilled in our essence to, you know, buy gifts to feel good, buy gifts to look good. There's so much more to giving than to buying a gift. And so I've been saying for the holidays, I want to bake. I think next holidays, I will. I'm gonna work on a recipe throughout the year, and then I'm just gonna bake my ass off and disperse as gifts. Oh, you thought you was gonna get something $20 minimum? Nah, here's 5 cookies. Here's a peppermint muffin, bitch. Went too far on that one. But I think so many ways that we can give to each other to show our gratitude, or, you know, be festive for the holidays. We don't have to spend our money in the stores, because look, a lot of us are kind of hurting right now. You know, we go all out for the holidays, and throughout January we're trying to recover. We're struggling, waiting on that income tax, waiting on this W-2s to hit, so we can file real quick and get that money in 30 days or less. Look, stop killing yourselves over these holidays, man. It doesn't make any sense. A lot of these holidays we celebrate, we're all celebrated for the wrong reasons. We're just trying to turn them positive. Look, do the Christmas lights if you can afford the bill. Do the Christmas gifts if you can afford the wrapping paper, or the giving and the driving and blah blah blah, or the shipping. Do all that. But for me, it's more than just being able to afford it. It's just like, I think, especially when people expect gifts, are wondering we're gonna get it this year. Every year from after a certain point, I'm like, I don't care, because I don't know. I think if I need something, I'll ask for it, but I think I've put myself in a position to have everything I need. So I mean, I can go another 5 years before really asking for a Christmas gift. If I'm like, you know, like my mom, dad, like, what do you want for Christmas? I'm like, surprise me. But then I'll think about it. I'm like, actually, you know what? I do need this. Meanwhile, everyone's like, oh, give me this, give me that. I do need this. And it's not even a need. It's just like, you're using the term need to tell me that you really want it. Manipulation. No, I won't buy it. Just out of that principle, I won't buy it. Perfect segue into the cons of why having a high volume of appreciation, a standard of appreciation. What are some things that could make that a bad thing? Let me apply this chapstick to my chapped ass lips and I'll tell you about it. All right, so when it comes to having appreciation, high volume of it, people tend to want to take advantage of you. I think we've all been there, you know, like when you show that gratitude, or that gratitude, or that gratefulness. You know, people tend to, some people try to want to, you know, use that for their personal gain, and that kind of sucks, because depending on who you are, how often it's happened to you, it kind of ruins it for everyone else. Hayden agrees. Thank you so much, brother. And that's kind of where understanding and patience really try to balances out that happening. It's like, okay, I get it. You're struggling, or maybe you thought you could just win over me. You thought, you know, I'd just be some kind of weak link. I'm not, and I understand that you're doing this. I won't let it happen again. You won't allow me to stoop down to your negative level by reacting a certain way, but I will say this: it will never happen again. Until you can show me that you won't ever mistreat who I am, that will never happen again. And you don't have to alter your emotions, you don't have to alter your mental state, you just got to be firm about it. At times, depending on how you receive mentally, how you receive the idea of people giving gifts, you might find it to be a bit frustrating that some people that you've really helped while they were down and out, or, you know, you've really been there for, whatever the case may be, you might find it to be a slightly frustrating that this person that you were giving your energy to didn't happen to reciprocate after they were able to and get you something. Let's say someone's been, oh hey, you know, like couch surfing, and they finally were like, oh, you know, can I stay with you? And they found a trustworthy person, because it's like, yeah, we'll just go over the stipulations of staying with me, and then, you know, as long as you can abide by my stipulations, we're good. And of course, you know, things were a bit rocky, and they're like, oh, please forgive me, blah, blah, blah. All right. Hey, look, man. And you've given them chance after chance. And then it's not like you're expecting it. It's not even like you actually sit there and have a full-blown thought about, oh, if this person has any money, they can give me a gift. Or, you know, it's like you are more like, I hope they have something to give, because it's Christmas, and, you know, like, you would want to know that they were able to participate in the festivities also. But, you know, then they go off and buy a gift for their newfound boyfriend or girlfriend of all of 2 weeks, and it's like a lot of money, and you're like, excuse you? You mean I took you in, helped you out, gave you chances, and you couldn't give me a gift? In that moment, you catch yourself getting frustrated. You're like, what the you didn't think about me. You thought about this person. You didn't think about me. But then you have to realize that you're getting frustrated about, you know, it's frustrating because it's just a buildup of things. It's not necessarily the gift buying. It's just like, wow, you didn't consider me even though I've done a lot for you. But you have to remind yourself not to be so prude. You'd be right to be frustrated, but to actually, you know, express that in the manner in which you're feeling it. Yeah, no, because then it just kind of seems like you were waiting for a return in the long run. So to understand that situation and yourself as a whole, hey, you know, he's very happy about this person who maybe made him feel a little better about the situation he was in. With me, it was more like, oh, you know, I've got to do this and that. It probably felt like living with family. But with this new girlfriend, you know, he probably feels a little better about himself, and he wants to impress her because he may see it to be a long-term thing. Okay, I get it. Would I have appreciated it being appreciated? Yeah, but I understand. You know, when it comes to being in a new relationship, you kind of get one shot to impress the person, but if this is how you impress them, it's not gonna last. If this is your foundation of impressions, not gonna last. But I won't pry into that, and I won't make that my problem. So you get to that point where you think that, and you're like, okay. And then you can appreciate the fact that at least he's doing well enough. That person that's been living on your couch, whatever, you can appreciate the fact that that person's doing well enough to be able to get his now new partner a gift. He's in a position to be able to at least buy something for once, you know? And then you may start to feel a little better about it. Like, all right, you know, at least I don't have to get him anything. There's an outlook to everything. And then of course, going back to nothing lasts, just uh, uh, being able to understand and appreciate life. It is a pro and a con, because on one thing you're like, oh, nothing lasts forever, so I'll cherish every single moment that I have left to live. At the same time, you're like, nothing lasts forever, and the things that I actually did enjoy will soon cease to exist. I won't have that to enjoy anymore, and that kind of sucks. But then you allow yourself to come back to, at least I had time to appreciate it. So it's like a little vicious circle of up and down, I feel like, just to kind of wrap up here, why I chose to speak on being or having the foundation of understanding and appreciation, or just the topic in general for the month. Like with being humble, everything I feel like comes from an essence in your core of just a good spirituality, like a good resonance. Not only will people be able to gravitate towards that just by the fact that you behave that way, that there's an aura about you that people will gravitate to. To take up the quote for Spider-Man, with great power comes with great responsibility. The reason why it's so deep to me is because when people see, this is for everything, and some of you might understand this with work. When you do so well with work, and like, the higher ups are like, hey, do more for the same pay. That's kind of like that, like for instance, a lot of the jobs that I had, I did more than one job. Like, let's say I worked at Chili's and I did to go. I'm supposed to bag the orders, take the orders, make sure they're good, and I'm supposed to ring them in. I was doing more than that because the help was needed, but also, like, I got so well at my job, I could move around the store and still get back to my post and finish what I was doing during busy hours. With the hookah lounge that I helped manage and worked as a hookah cook. In the back, I'd make the hookahs, put the coals down. I'm doing, like, I have my whole area set, and I'm a one-man band after a certain point. I used to work with a good friend of mine, but then he left and I took over. So, like, I had everything as far as my station unlocked. Like, I'd go in and I knew when something was moved or tampered with. That's how well I had it. Like, you couldn't move stuff around without me going, who touched it? Same with my office. If I walk in and see something's moving around, I'm like, who touched it? But that's also helps me be able to navigate my shift, because then, like, I know where everything is. If something happens, I know exactly where to go. If something happens to me, I know exactly where to tell people to go. So that organization is key. You got to be organized. But it went beyond that, like, I got so well at my job, I had time. So I'd be in the back kind of smoking while the servers were struggling. Well, it's a small building, you shouldn't be struggling. If I can run all these orders by myself, you should be okay sharing the building with 2 other people. But the manager, like, aside from me already having the experience of being in a restaurant or bar, and just, like, genuinely be like, hey, you guys seem like you're stressed, is there anything I can help with? The manager also wanted me to help, and then it became an expectation. Oh, you're done back here, help them out there. I don't need help, why do whatever. So I would go help though, and a lot of times I did it just because, like, it would help me help them. When they start to slack, they fuck up, and I hated that because it would ruin the entire night, and I'm a man of all efficiency. So I wanted to make sure helping them also helped me, and it also helped keep the manager off my back. But like, being able to finish quick and efficiently, people tend to look at you like, well, you're not doing anything. Like, you're right, because I'm finished. That, in a sense, has you have a sense of being humble when you can just genuinely want to get up and, like, hey, what do you guys need help with? I've got nothing left to do over here, or I've got time, like, I can help with something, and when people see that about you, yes, there's a sense of them being able to, like, expect it from that point on. But there are some people who are like, hey, I'm really struggling, can you help me out? And then there's some people like, can you help me? What do you need help with? Oh, no, like, first of all, you're half-assing your job. I've completely done my job. You're half-assing your job. I will help with one thing. You can do the rest of the stuff. Some people will try to take advantage of you, but you just got to be firm about, what you're going to do. Don't let yourself be taken advantage of. I've let that happen plenty of times, but, I won't make any excuses as to why I let it happen or who did it and why, whatever. It just happened. But everything was done. So Caden says, I'll never stab in the back. I am a trusted person. Caden, you have the cadence of a trustworthy person. When I say cadence, your voice, the energy that you bring, I can definitely tell there's nothing you would do that would ever stab me or anyone in the back. And I really appreciate that about you. I really do. I will say I'm glad to have met you through Titanfall. And if it's extended to you coming into my podcast, it's really cool. So with being humble about your presence, with your gift, with your abilities, with just who you are as a genuine person, there also comes patience. And with patience, again, that's it goes hand in hand with understanding. Like with me, if I didn't have patience, I wouldn't have been able to work in the service industry for a restaurant and bar, because it takes patience to be able to serve people. It takes way more patience to be a bartender to serve alcoholics or people who just had way too many, and it takes patience to be the one to not only run an entire area but to also help others run their area as well. And then of course, there's so many aspects of life to reserve patience, but when you understand the fundamentals of patience, just beyond the fact, like the base definition of it, you come to understand within yourself who you are as a person, who you were as a person, and who you can be as a being. And there are times where you're like, I slipped. But if you can catch it as like a slip, like, I shouldn't have went off on that person, or I shouldn't have let my emotions get the best of me. If you can sit there and reevaluate that, and then you want to make the change on that, there's no problem. Like, we're going to have our moments where we slip up, and it's okay. As long as you don't let that slip up. As long as you don't let that, I feel like I just saw something over here. Slip up get to you. Again, another big one is acceptance. So when it comes to being humble, you have to understand how to accept things. Accept that someone is a liar. Accept that someone is, in the moment a criminal. Accept the fact that your food order was late, or accept that it's raining and you wanted to go do something outside. Like, there are things where you just have to take a look at it and go, okay, this happened. Yes, it takes a toll on my plans, or yes, it makes me think differently of this person, but how can I change that aspect? How can I change that outlook? Or when it comes to something as small as like, you ordered food, you went to go pick it up, and it's 15 minutes late. It's food. You plan on eating it. You're not starving. You're not actually starving if you haven't went days without food. I've done a fast. Not bragging, but like, to know what it means to starve, and then to tell yourself you're starving because you actually just want something really bad. You're able to gauge where you are mentally and emotionally on a spectrum of whatever scenario you're dealing with, and then you are like on a scale of 1 to 10, and then you allow yourself to understand it's not that bad. Now, if you went and somebody was telling you that your order's 15 minutes behind, only to tell you that they've been looking at the wrong order and your order was never taken or received, that is understandable. But at the same time, you're just like, all right, well, now you got to make make a change, make something different. Like, don't waste your energy trying to argue with the person in front of you or the establishment. Just say, hey, look, I know for a fact that I made an order. And then, also take into account, were you charged for it? If not, okay, thank you. And go find somewhere else to eat, because it might have ruined your appetite for that place, or you probably don't want to wait because you see how busy they are and it's like, I'm not eating here anymore. But for me, I always think everything happens for a reason. Wow, right? For me, I live by that. I just, like, whenever something blocks what I intentionally had going on, I'm like, Probably happened for a reason. Okay, moving on. Sometimes it is frustrating. Sometimes I do have a bit of a struggle with certain things that happened that I was like, "Oh, I really wanted it," but I'm like, you know what, whatever, and I kind of move on. You know, sometimes I get a bit frustrated, and when I get mad, I can get mad for a while, but like, you know, I get over it, and I'm like, well, you know, as soon as I get over, I'm like, it's okay, you know, it's other things to do. So it does take patience to understand acceptance, though. It really does. Like the Titanfall hack. That yeah, and you know what was crazy is that I kept going back to the game like, I wonder if it works now, and I'm like, this sucks. But as soon as I saw it started working, I geeked out, fangirled so hard as if I was 13 years old at my first NSYNC concert. Man, oh man, was it a good time. But boy, did I hate having to sit there, wait 20 minutes for one game just to be like, servers down or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this can't be the end of this game, because it's so good. So good. But yeah, it does take patience to learn acceptance. And it also takes patience to learn appreciation. And you know, we've kind of gone over appreciation a bit heavy, but where it stems from being humble is just the smallest things to the biggest things in life. You just kind of look at it and you're just like, this is nice. And you appreciate the fact that it can be enjoyed by someone else, even if not you. That's like the highest level of appreciation that I can think of at this point in time. But when you can look at it and go, someone likes it, but like you have nothing negative or dwelling about that certain thing. And then understanding with, you know, all this kind of ties in with each other. If you think about it, they're all very similar. So like with understanding, of course it takes patience, of course it takes acceptance, but those are kind of like traits of being humble. So like the biggest thing that I feel like people really wouldn't be able to get through, that I can kind of say that I kind of do really well, is seeing the point of view of, let's say, a criminal who's in prison or maybe on like death row, when they're being investigated by like the like in court, or just when they're in custody, the question always comes up, why'd you do it? And you know, their answer will make people feel less about that person, like, oh, give them the death treatment, this and that. Me personally, I've gotten to a point to where if I see something done wrong, retaliation is not the best response. It's not the best answer. Like when I see videos, like earlier before I got on, I saw this video, I think it was from a movie. Black guys in a grocery store. It seems like he's in a predominantly white and mostly white racist community. But you know, like he's leaving the register and everything seems fine. He does seem a bit flustered, but like I guess there's this little Caucasian kid from like 2 hours away, and I guess he was looking at the toy. The Caucasian father realizes that his son is looking at the black guy, and he's like, he, you know, says to the black guy from like 2-3 hours over, "Are you messing with my boy?" And the guy's like, "What?" He's like, "Are you messing with my kid?" He's like, "He was just looking at the toy." And the black guy, he had to say that a few times because he's just kind of like, you know, understandably confused about the situation. Kid's looking at the toy, the guy's like, "Yo, you messing with my kid?" And so, you know, to try to one up the situation as a like an alpha move, the guy calls the black guy the N-word, hard R. And he's like, "Do we got a problem here? N-word." And then the black guy scoffs. And as he's leaving the grocery store, he wasn't gonna say anything, but like the way that he was acting, which is pretty well, he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna say it." So he's like, you know what my problem is? You're my problem." And the guy's like, "Wait, what'd you say to me?" He's like, you're my problem. You heard me. Yeah, you heard, right? Blah, blah, blah. That kind of situation happened. And so the guy tries to pull, walk up to the black guy as he's leaving. And then, like, the white guy has a wife, and then, of course, his son. His wife's trying to hold him back from doing whatever he's going to do. And it's like she knows he's going to do it. And then his son tries to stop him, too. But, like, he ends up pushing his son. Like, he just mushes him in the head. So, like, the son walks up. He's like, no, hold up. Turns around and does this. Son's But you can see the black guy's walking out. He's got his family in the car. And as the black guy's walking out, the white guy pulls his phone out. He's like, hey, do you see that? He calls him another racial slur. He's like, you see this guy walking out there? He just tried to, mess with my kid and come up on me. Like, he just tried to, he lied. And so as this guy walking out, he finishes the call. He walks outside, mushes his son in the forehead. The black guy is making his way to his car, and from his car he sees his son screaming, like he's like, dad, 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 smacking on the window, screaming, dad. Dad turns around just in time, but the dude gets a nice headbutt in. Like, they were staring at each other for almost a full second, and the guy just headbutts him. Of course, you get headbutted in the face, especially the nose. You're like, you can't see. Like, getting hit in the nose just softly, it like messes with you. You're just like, oh my gosh. So like getting busted in the nose, oh man, I can only imagine. But the phone call the guy made was to some guys that were in his car, and there was like 4 or 5 other guys. So basically, that guy gets jumped. His wife and 2 kids are sitting there screaming in the car. Police is called, blah blah blah. But as the car of the white guys are pulling off, the son kind of gets out of the car. The black son, he gets out of the car and he just stares at the car. Me personally, I'm like, he just looked at the tags. And I was correct, because then the video transitioned to a different scene where the white guy's driving down a dirt road at night with his son, and then a van pulls up in front, and then just kind of stops. So then he's honking. He's got this dominant alpha energy about him, honking. Oh, hey, move out the way. Looks at his son. Stay right here. Gets out, bangs on the door of the van, and then like some guys hop out, kidnap him, drive off. White kid hops out of the car, is chasing after the van, and in the van you see there's the black son looking out of the back of the window, watching the kid run after his kidnapped dad. So as I'm watching this scene, I was like, no, that's not the way to go. I know that what happened to him was very wrong, but my heart was heavy to see that not only was there retaliation involved, but it was retaliation from the son. He felt that he had saw his father being in a position. No one wants to see that from anyone, not especially family, but like, he felt that he saw his father in a position he never wants to see again. He made some calls. So he called up some people that I guess his dad wasn't aware of, and so they had this man missing for 10 days, I think, but they returned him. Like, they dropped him off in the middle of the street days later, and like, he ends up going inside his house. In between all this, after they kidnap the dude, like, he's waking up into a chair. They have him strapped. They give him they sedate him, and they start giving him a tattoo. And they started on a swastika tattoo that he had on his body, the white guy. Turns out they tattooed his entire body and dyed his hair black. I don't know that they did something with his mouth because he was talking weird, but like, they dropped him off. He finds his way home. He's banging on the door, calling for his wife to open the door. It's late at night, so he looks black. She's, waking up, hearing sounds, and she's not aware that her husband's even alive. So when she wakes up hearing the noise at the front of the house, at the door, she loads the gun, runs to a good distance. He opens the door. He's like, oh, baby, it's me, Christy, it's me. She's like, stop, I will shoot you. Because in the night of night, inked up from head to toe, he looks like a black guy. So there's a point to where she is listening to him, and he's like, it's me. And she's like, I think his name is Jeffrey. She goes, Jeffrey. And right as the video cuts, there's a gunshot. I think the son shot his dad. I don't know. I don't even know what movie or show it was from. But point of that entire long monologue is that I've gotten to a point in my life where retaliation only adds to the situation. And although I'm not perfect, because there are certain situations where I will unfortunately allow myself to break that rule that I reserve for, but I've gotten to a point to where realistically I just don't really care to see physical retaliation to some physical activity. Like if someone went and got shot, whether they were affiliated with whatever reason that caused them to get shot, or if it was just like a stray or an accident, I don't think the best way is revenge. To go find out who shot, and that's just me saying it from a point to where I haven't actually had anything that would require me to do so. But genuinely, whenever I see stuff like that, I'm like, nah, that shouldn't have happened. But I get it, where it stems from, where you want to retaliate, where you want to go, oh, you shot my family, I'm shooting yours back. But that does nothing but continue the cycle. I've been trying to allow myself to understand, like, if I was to ever be put in a position where my life was being taken and I had moments, or if like a close family member's life was taken by accident, whether it was just like a crime in the moment, or maybe just like a car crash or something like that, I've been talking myself through how to forgive someone in that moment, or just like in that scenario. Like for instance, if someone were to take the life of one of my family members in a car crash and they survived, but my family member didn't, I would forgive that person. What am I going to do with being mad or upset at that person who made the mistake? We can all go at any point in time. We've allowed cars to be one of the reasons why we can lose our life. Although they are a key for transportation, they have also made us to a different type of person, and they are also just moving death traps. But, anything can kill anyone these days, and it's just, what can you do other than try to be cautious? But sometimes being cautious doesn't always go the right way. So I've been trying to teach myself on how, if that time were to ever come, how would I forgive the situation? It's just kind of like a mental and emotional workout. Like, with people who are gym rats, they go to work out, they work their bodies out to look a certain way, but that's the only thing that they use it for, is working out. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I haven't been through these kind of situations, but I want to be able to establish myself to the point to where if that ever happens, I can calmly walk to the other family and go, hey, I forgive you, and be at peace with what happened. For myself, not for the lost family member, not for the person who did it, who survived, for myself, because I don't want to go through life with a heavy heart for something I can't control. And I want to share that, because I see it happen a lot, and I know that the circulation of negativity is never the best answer. So like, revenge plotting is never the best response to, a tragedy. But we got to start small. But this all helped me to wrap up here. This all helped me to be who I am, where I am now. Like I've always said throughout my streaming journey so far, I haven't been the best person to the people I used to know and hang out with and just to myself. But as I've begun to realize my point in their lives where I messed up, and the point in my life where they messed up, I've come to understand that it was just a growing part of my life. And I feel like I've passed that test, because now I've moved on to the next phase where I understand more things now. Not everything, but I understand more things now than I did before. I allow myself to understand things now instead of being arrogant and saying, oh, I get it, but, I don't say but and then be like, what about me? I can say I get it, but maybe what are some other things to understand? That's where my idea of saying but would take me, not. But it's all a learning journey. So as I learn, I want to share what I've learned and experienced. Hopefully it helps anyone who's feels like they're in my position, or who may be going into positions like the one that I've been in or the ones that I'm in, and we can help each other out. But yeah, that's all I have as far as being showing more growth and understanding and appreciation. All ties in with being humble. I hope I was able to help any and everyone. I thank you for everyone who stopped in. I'm thanking everyone who's watching now. Everyone else, you have a good weekend. Stay warm, stay well.